Hey church, hope you're doing well. It's my privilege to be sharing a two-part devotion with you this week, and one of the areas I've been really challenged about in my daily devotions and Bible readings is the area of generosity, and particularly with finance. And it's one of these areas that sometimes it can be a little bit awkward to talk about in church, or it can make us a little bit uncomfortable. But often when it comes to our money and our finances, we tend to be quite private and quite personal. But the Bible's quite clear that we're to use that to honour God. And one of the areas I've been thinking about is that we can only give out of what we have. And if we haven't got a huge amount of money, if we haven't got a huge amount of cash, it's not really about that. It's about the heart and the spirit of the giver. But what does it mean to be generous with our finances? What does it mean to be generous with our time and our resources in a way that honours God? See, it's not about what you give. It's not about the amount that you give. It's not even so much about where you give, but it's the principle of intentional generosity. And if you're giving with a sense in which, well, I want to get something back in return, that's not really giving, that's an exchange. And that's the biggest area that I've been challenged in. And I want you to listen to these words in Deuteronomy chapter 14, verse 28 to 29. And so this is the law of God being given to God's people about how they are to conduct themselves, how they're to operate as God's holy people. And this is what it says: at the end of every 3 years, you shall bring out all the tithe of your produce in the same year. So that's 3 years of 10%. So that's 30% in one go, just saved up every 3 years, and lay it up within your towns. And the Levite, because he has no portion of inheritance with you, and the sojourner or the traveller, the fatherless and the widow who are within your town shall come and eat and be filled, and the Lord your God may bless you in all the work of your hands that you do. It's really interesting that they're commanded to give not just 10%, but to store it up as in one big wave for people who are without, for widows, for the sojourner, for the Levites who weren't able to have an inheritance of land. And so these people's needs are met and taken care of because of the principles of generosity that God set up from the beginning. And this wasn't about giving to the temple. It wasn't about giving to, or to put it in modern day terms, the church or a charity or an establishment. Those are just structures that we use as vehicles for God's kingdom. But the heart and the spirit was to take care of the needs of the many, those that were without, those that couldn't resource themselves. And so this is the first principle. We're going to talk in our second devotion a little bit more about this, just to prepare yourself. But for today, the challenge is this: am I being generous with my finances? Is my attitude to save it up and to give and to cover the needs of other people? And if you don't have a lot of finances, that's fine. It's not just about the money that you give, but the time, the effort, the energy, the focus, the attention to help bring somebody up, to raise them up, to make sure they're secure, to make sure their needs are met. And there's so many ways to do that. But I just want to challenge us today to begin thinking about our finances with a spirit of generosity, not about what we give to, not even so much about how much we give, but the fact that God commands us out of the abundance that he gives us, out of all the comforts and luxuries and extras and all the overflowing of provision and whatever you're able to earn through work, that we give out of that. We make sure that needs are covered, that needs are met. I've been in a place in my life where I've had to have my needs met by other people, and I'm so thankful for that. But there also came a day when I was able to meet the needs of others, and it's just that spirit of generosity that we're called to keep. Hey, next week we're going to be looking. The next devotion, we're going to be looking a little bit more about the heart and the spirit, going deeper in that principle of generosity. But for today, Lord, may you make us truly thankful for all that we have, but also help us to recognize that you call us to give. It's an ancient command. It's been there for thousands of years, that out of the abundance of what we have, we're called to take aside a portion of that and to be generous, to lay it up before others who are in a place of need, and without prejudice, without discrimination, God, that should we just try to meet, to the best of our ability, the needs of the people around us, for the widow, for the sojourner, for the Levite, for those that maybe don't have means of getting resources for themselves, that we have so that we might give, that we are blessed to be a blessing, and help us to keep that principle at the forefront of our mind in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, may you find some great opportunities this week to be a blessing to somebody else, particularly in the area of generosity. Bless you guys. I'll see you soon.